Welcome to KidMin Backstage, the place where we talk about kids ministry and take a peek behind the scenes. We try to share a little bit of what we've learned that works for us and some of our failures so you can avoid them. We release a new episode every Friday, and this is your Backstage Pass to see the magic or disaster that happens behind the scenes of our kids ministry. I'm your host, Gabe Baker, and today I am joined by two iconic Sunday school veterans, Sister Shamra Ayer and Sister Rochelle Gall. Oh, not Shamra Ayer. Oh, my goodness. Shamra Story. And Rochelle, what was your last name before?
Valdez.
Oh, I don't think I ever called you that anyway, so. Which, that's one of the funny things is now you guys are all married and got kids of your own that are, you have kids in Sunday school. You have a kid that will be in Sunday school. Whew, that's
few
crazy.
years, Beaudry will be in.
And how old is Gavin?
10, almost 10.
Almost 10. So, he'll probably be staff one day.
He talks about it all the time. He can't wait.
Oh, man.
I think it'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, so I have kids that are staff, obviously. And, of course, I have my young ones. So I have kind of the best of both worlds. But it's crazy to think, how long it's been. So, okay, what are we talking about today?
Narnia.
So, okay, so I wrote some notes, and we do have a little bit of outline. We are going to talk about maybe a few other things, but I wrote some notes in the Narnia thing because as we discovered, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Brother Kyle was doing opening welcome and was like, just thought, down before we come upstairs, thought the kids would be so excited. And he's like, yeah, we're going to be starting a new thing. We're going to do Narnia. And about half the kids were like, huh?
Did they know what it was?
They didn't know what it was.
They didn't know what it was?
And
a couple
the ones
kids said that they read the books. But
so the ones that did know what it was were super excited. But there was a bunch that didn't know what it was. And so it's like, oh, wow, this is... Like when we did it the first time, everybody knew what Narnia was, I think because the Focus on the Family, the dramatized stories made
it's
it really
ironic because
popular.
I just bought Gavin the books for Christmas, so he's been reading them. And then when you announced that, he's
that's
like, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. But anyway, so for those that don't know, Narnia is it's an old story. C.S. Lewis wrote it, and I think in the 50s or something. I can't remember, but the basic premise is there's these 4 kids. I mean, there's like 7 books, but we're doing the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, the one that's known, the most popular one. So there's these 4 kids, the Pevensey kids, and they're staying in this house, this huge house. The professor's there, and through this adventure and magical wardrobe and everything, they find this alternate world. It's like a portal fantasy, they call it. And so they find this other world, Narnia, that's full of talking animals and all kinds of stuff, ruled by an evil white witch. And then there's Aslan. And then this is also, a lot of people say it's an allegory, which is of the Bible. And there's parts of it that are, even C.S. Lewis said that parts of it are, but it's not necessarily just an allegory of the Bible. But there's a part where Aslan gets, killed or whatever, and it's very much like the crucifixion. So all of that, that's kind of the story, and we're getting ready to launch into that, and so it's exciting.
So exciting.
And you guys were both in the original one.
Yes.
So this is part of the reason for this podcast. Plus, we just needed to get you guys on.
We're the missing links.
Yeah. All right.
School,
so
Sunday school.
What do you guys? I have on the first bullet here that we're going to talk about is Narnia memories.
Oh my goodness.
So many. Well, I think it was so fun because I got to play multiple characters, but my favorite one was definitely Mrs. McCready because I don't think I had been in Sunday school. I mean, I had, but I hadn't been as involved. And so when we did Narnia, it was every week, and I was in there. But I got to practice my British accent.
Yes.
So
yes.
I had a lot of fun speaking, with the British accent.
Yeah.
And being Mrs. McCready. And the kids were funny because I would catch the kids talking in, the British accent, or they'd want me to during church.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because, the tip-top shape.
Tip-top shape. That was your phrase. I remember that. And so Mrs. McCready is like the housekeeper. And so you would come around, you had that duster.
I would dust the kids.
Like hang it or something on your belt or something?
I would dust the kids. I would
you were always
sweeping.
Bustling around.
Yeah.
I would sweep the kids sometimes.
And then and you would sometimes you'd like get their face with the duster. I remember that, and like they were talking or something. You'd be like, no, tip-top shape or something.
I think at one point I pretended there was a mouse in the corner and freaked them out.
I think we did end up scaring the kids a few times.
Yeah.
I screamed a mouse, and I was trying to get it with the broom, and they were
oh wow, that's funny.
behind me.
Well, and back then we sat on the floor too, so it makes it even worse.
Yes, so funny.
And it was pretty dark in there because to create the rooms and everything, we had that black plastic hanging down from the ceiling, so it was.
Wow.
Pretty dark.
Well, it's just so different, too, because we had that kitchen with the island, and we'd made that cave underneath there, so they had to crawl under that at one point.
We were, that was back when we set up every week and took down every week. Mm-hmm. And I try to tell people, I mean, like, we're kind of known for our sets, and they're amazing or whatever. They are great. But a lot of people kind of bemoan the fact, like, oh, when we get a permanent space. And we are so blessed. I'm not saying anything about that. Mm-hmm. We are very, very, very blessed. Especially, we have a permanent backstage and everything. But we did some amazing setups where we set up every Saturday night.
Every Saturday night,
every
7 p.m.
Yep. And we took down every single week. So you can do cool stuff.
We used everything that we had at the time.
Yeah. In fact, when we did this, so Rochelle and I were texting the other day about some of this, and she was asking how long. Well, I have a picture on my phone it's 2011 was the first Narnia down in the fellowship hall where we set up every week, and I think it's the only picture I have of that theme, but it's a cool picture because it's got like the ground fogger. It was a regular size, fog machine, but you put ice in it. You put ice cubes in it, and that was because that's how you keep fog low. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But usually, like fog machines ground foggers are really big and chilled and everything. So this was like I don't know, I got it somewhere, probably off of Amazon or something, but I got this ground fogger, and I remember we would like, oh man, can somebody stop and get ice? We'd be like, can you get ice on the way to church this morning? We forgot the ice. Because we need the ground fog for the snow.
So funny.
But yeah, in that picture you can see the ground fog, and you can see the lamp, the Narnia lamp with the handle broken off, and then you can see one of the scene setters. Well, we still have those scene setters, and that was the very first time we ordered. They're like billboard material. They're like the vinyl, heavy duty vinyl scene setters, and so in fact we're using that snow one. So we had a snow one and a forest one. They were both forest, but one was snowy. And so I ordered those from Brooklyn, New York. And, it was the first time. And we still have those, which is kind of cool.
I think one thing with the Narnia, like the whole, with that whole theme, I believe is the first time that Sunday school went so far into making the costumes.
Oh, yes.
Because there was a lot of detail that went into all of the costumes.
Yes.
And even, so like you mentioned the lamppost, and that's what reminded me, because that lamppost was made out of like a bucket and concrete and like a metal pole.
Yeah, and it had a real, or had a battery-operated bulb in it, so it had a real light. Yeah, that was, and the costumes, man, I wish I had those pictures, because we took pictures and video. And it was before we didn't do any social media. I don't even know if social media was around, but
maybe MySpace, but
yeah, it was my face. But yeah, so we sewed all of our own costumes, and
I remember.
I think we still have some of them.
Yeah, we still have at least the White Witches, because the last time we did it, I can't believe it, but I squeezed back in that dress. I don't know how it happened.
Oh man. So I remember we made animal costumes, and so you were
the beaver.
You
Mrs.
were
Beaver.
Mrs. Beaver. I was Mr. Beaver, and we had these little matching costumes, and then of course Mrs. McCready, and then you were famously the White Witch.
The White
or,
Witch.
or as you would say, the White Queen, or whatever it was. And so you were the Queen. I think Brother Keach was Edmund.
Yes, he
which
was.
is funny, is because he's older than you. He's old enough to be your dad, I guess.
He's old enough to be my dad.
But he did a good job.
And quite a bit larger than me in playing a little boy.
Yeah.
And I took advantage of that.
Yeah.
I really did.
Well, and it worked. He did a great job. I mean, it was believable. Like, he seemed like this rotten little boy.
Yeah,
you know?
he did. I don't know. I think he might be a rotten little boy at heart.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. So then I got to tell this story on Rochelle.
Oh.
This was so funny. I can't remember if it was when you were Mrs. Beaver or maybe it was something else.
I think it was the beaver.
It was Mrs. Beaver.
And so she was inside this like cave thing, and I mean it was like right there, right beside the action that's happening, and the kids don't know she's in there, so because she's supposed to pop out on a cue and surprise the kids. So we were doing the scene. I don't remember what the scene was, and we say the cue, and no Rochelle, and we're like, and so we say it again. No Rochelle. We're like, what in the world? And then finally we realized she fell asleep.
She was curled up in
And
there.
I was asleep for a long time.
Because she was waiting and
I
laying
was like
down.
waiting, and then it was like all warm in there, and I remember like, oh man, they're taking a long time, and then next thing you know, it's like everybody's waking me up like, what have you been doing?
Those are the days too, like where we were young, so we were staying out late and getting up early and going to Sunday school, so we were really tired.
Well, and back then our practices were at 8. So Sunday school staff now is spoiled. We do 8:30.
Yep.
But it was at 8 o'clock, an hour before the other practices.
Yep.
So speaking of that, I remember. Do you guys remember? We took. I can't remember how many weeks. The one we're doing now is a 9-week theme, but I can't remember how many weeks that theme was. It probably was 13.
It was long.
Yeah, I think it was a full quarter. But do you remember at the beginning what we did? We did all this prep work, and then in 1 week, we crammed all the practices. We practiced the whole entire script. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
We did like 3 a night or something, 3 or 4 a night. We kind of, not the full thing, but we ran through the story.
I feel like it made it easier to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, when you came, we still did our practice on Sunday morning, but we had ran through that.
Yeah, I had forgot about that because we had to get our voices and everything down because it was such a well-known story.
Yes.
Which, that's why it's so crazy that the kids now don't know what it is.
I know.
But it was so well known, and it was set in London after the war, or during the war.
Yeah.
And so they talked a very specific way.
Yes. Yeah, we had to get everything down. And I remember... it was so I think it's has a following or did almost what's some of those Star Wars or Star Trek, and I know those are two different things, but some people are so fanatical about the details of it.
Yes.
Well, that was how it was with Narnia, and I remember it was I was like, hey, you guys, hold on. This is not the Bible. So, if we decide to do it,
I was probably one of those people.
But I wonder, Brother Kyle and I were just talking the other day about it, and I guess there was, I think, some kind of TV series ages ago, an old one, but then there was a movie that came out, and it might have been
around
that same time, and maybe that's why it was so
I think that
well
it was.
known.
Yeah, because I think even the bus kids did know.
Yeah, because I know, our kids will listen, our church kids will listen to a lot of audio drama and stuff, and so Focus on the Family had that really well done dramatized version.
And also during that time, it wasn't as well like the internet, and YouTube and all of that wasn't as prominent as it is now. And so families in the church didn't have a lot of access to biblically based stories and materials and things like that.
Yeah.
They just didn't have it.
Yeah, and that was, so it was a lot more of a big deal. Yeah, that was, man, there's a lot of memories with that. I remember Tumnus's cave. So Brother Aaron was Tumnus, and he had that little, he's so talented, he could play like any instrument in the world, but he had that little tiny like ukulele,
yes.
and he sang a little song to Lucy and played his ukulele.
His little tiny chair.
Yeah. And he had those, I don't think he had hooves, he was a fawn, but he did have the pants, the fur pants, and then it was like, I can't remember what he had for a shirt. I think it was like almost like a long john shirt or something.
Yeah.
It was like a
plaid or something.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, that was really good. And what I was gonna say is his cave. So Tumnus, because we had to set up and take down every week, and so Tumnus's cave was actually, the frame of it was PVC pipe that could like bend, and then it had joints, and so we made it. And then we had this cloth that we'd put over it, and then underneath you had a few like straps, I think Velcro or whatever. And so we made this cave, and it was big enough for the kids to they didn't really go in it, but they could see into it, where Tumnus and Lucy were, and they were almost like kind of in the mouth of the cave, and they were sitting in there, like they could sit up and everything, and then we'd collapse that all down.
I just remember him sitting in that tiny chair, that little
the
kindergarten chair.
Yes.
The Beavers had something similar.
Yeah, it might have actually been the same one modified.
Yeah.
It might have been the same thing, but modified.
It was cozy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cozy. Rochelle can attest to that. Oh, man, that's funny. Yeah, and so, and Brother Joey.
Yes, Joey.
He's
was the perfect
an evangelist. Brother Joey Boggs was Aslan, the very first Aslan. Yes. And I think I do have a picture of him being funny, doing a funny pose, because Pastor had come into practice, and he did a funny pose like he was modeling or something on the stone table. And so I took a picture of him.
I do remember that.
It's like blackmail, Yeah, I think I still have that somewhere. Oh, man, that's funny. But, yeah, so he was the first Aslan. I remember him joking. What was the line? Children, ride upon my biceps.
Yes.
Because it's like Aslan says something like ride or grab my fur.
Ride upon my back, because Lucy and Susan were supposed to ride on his back to wherever the White Witch was.
Yeah, ride upon my biceps. Of course he was joking, but it was funny. And then
who was Lucy? Was that Misha?
It was Misha.
Misha, okay.
Yeah, she did a good job. Yeah. So anyway, that was pretty epic, and I think the build up to it as well, like with all the costume prep and all the stuff we were doing and everything, it was like a big deal.
The staff was, just as excited as the kids were.
Yeah, the staff was so excited.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I still it was like magical.
Yeah.
Even for us.
Yeah, it was.
It's
really
like
cool.
When you play house when you're a little kid.
Yeah.
That's still what it's like for me.
Yeah. And we have done it. We did Prince Caspian as well, and we did that up here, and that was pretty cool. It's like a train station. You came onto a train, and then we did this one again, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. We did that again up here, and I think it was good, and it probably was every bit as good, and maybe even better. But the first time was just there's the nostalgia, and it was so cool.
Yes.
It was really neat.
Well, and Shamrock gets pretty into her parts, and so she could be pretty scary. And so I just remember it being kind of dark, and you got the lights going, and she pulls out this crooked dagger, and she raises that thing up, and those kids are like, ah!
Oh, yeah.
They can't give me the real swords to act with because...
Yeah, in fact, I think I remember you, because we did have a couple, like, real swords. They're not like super sharp, but we had a couple of real swords. We're like, no, you can't have it.
Because if you're gonna fight me in Sunday school, you better be ready. Because
and remember, you had a staff. Oh, this was so cool! It was it was like a piece of conduit, and then it had like hot glue on the end.
It was a metal rod.
Yeah, well,
it was a full metal, it was
I think it was a
wait,
steel,
is that what conduit is?
Well, yeah, it was a steel conduit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought conduit was I should know this. Miles is an electrician.
It was.
I was thinking PVC pipe, but yeah, no, it was
steel conduit, and then it had it had a light on the end, but it had that
it was
glue
a
or something.
Icicle, like a Christmas
and
clear icicle, and they hot glued it on there. It made the hot glue drip down, so it looked like
an icicle dripping.
But I think that they had some sort of light in the end, if I remember,
because it had a little button on it.
It had a button.
You had to hold it down.
Yeah, I was like,
yes. They did the same thing for my crown.
Oh, I don't remember that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it would glow.
Oh man.
So probably why you could see the gleam in your eye when you pulled out the dagger.
Yeah. I remember that wand. That was so cool.
I think every single time that I've played that part, I've made kids cry. I don't know if it's unfortunately that I did that, because it means I'm being realistic and playing my part well.
Oh man, yeah. Well, we've talked about making kids cry, and that is not the goal of our Sunday school.
Right. I just, put my heart and soul into it.
Yeah. So were you guys? Well, you were in the second time we did it. You did White Witch again. Mm-hmm. But were you in? I don't think you were in it the next time.
No.
Because I remember somebody else played Mrs. McCready.
Well, I know. I think the second time was when my dad had his surgery and I was gone for like a month.
Okay, yeah.
And then I ended up not coming back.
Or maybe you were off having kids or something.
No, I don't think so. Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. I think it was 2000. I think my dad had. I think it was 2018.
Yeah, I hadn't came back yet.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Because I think I've only been back for maybe 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was really good too. And I remember somebody saying when we did the Tumnus's Cave on the second one up here, it was over in the corner. There's a door there now, but it used to be a window. And I remember it was I think a staff person or something. But they're like, "Oh, it's so cozy," it was like just this nice, neat little. And then on this side where we are right now was Narnia, and you came through the wardrobe, and we had the snow machine that we used from Heart of Christmas, and that snow machine was going, and so you came across, and the snow was coming down.
I think this is during the Prince Caspian one, correct?
No, this was the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, because the wardrobe was like right over here somewhere, because the house was over there in that. On that side, and then
I think during so I was in each time that we've done Narnia, like whether it be Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe or Prince Caspian, but for the very first time we did it, I was in it throughout the whole thing, but the other ones I was like a cameo appearance, so I wasn't up here every week. I just came up and did my part.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
And so that's what was kind of shocking for the kids too, is because I kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, which is cool. And now, because back then we had like a staff team, and they would do the whole theme, and then sometimes a few would maybe take a break or whatever. And so that's basically what you were doing, is taking a break. Yeah. Now it's a lot different. We have like 30 staff, or we rotate every single week. We got new staff or whatever. So, but one thing I wanted to talk about, and we are going to move on. We're going to talk about some other Sunday school memories. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was the wardrobe in the first one. I remember it was so cool because we had this removable back. It was like a magic trick,
Yeah, like an actual wardrobe.
Yeah, it was an actual wardrobe.
With coats. We had actual coats in
We
there.
had coats in it and everything. And I remember and it was a pretty small space. Of course, our Sunday school was smaller too. But I remember Lucy, the first time she goes in there, and then basically she closes the door behind her. They're playing hide and seek or whatever. She goes in there, and then staff take off the back, and she disappears, right? And so then I think, which this is not how the story goes, but I think we wanted the effect, and so we had somebody open it, Edmund or somebody open it, like the very first time she goes, and it's just a solid back, like, oh, she's not in here. And of course, I remember all the kids just like,
Yeah, where'd she go?
Yeah, and so like a couple times we did it where I think the next time when Edmund and Lucy go out, and then it closed, and
I remember one of the boys, it might have been Jacob, was like knocking on it, trying to figure out.
Yeah. And then they got to go through it, and we still didn't show the back, but they just got to go in, and it was open.
And didn't I can't remember. Did they go through it every single time after that?
I think so. I think it was. Yeah, I think after the reveal, I think they went through the wardrobe every time, and of course, the bulk of that novel, it takes place in Narnia, and we would come to the house every week, which is what we.
Because we would almost do a welcme, like every time I'd be doing something different.
Yeah. So we always
see me first.
Because there's things that we would want to do, and Bible stories or whatever, our regular segments, offering prayer requests, that kind of stuff that we would do in the quote unquote house. Then we'd go over for the theme part of the adventure into Narnia.
I would be just general staff most of the time, because
until
my part.
Yeah, and then we did do some of the Bible stories in the Narnia side too. And just kind of use that same setting or whatever. So that was kind of cool. Okay, so some of the other Sunday school memories. I guess this is out of order on the notes, but I wanted to address something really quick. Our good friend Brother Booker always talks about Christian illusions. So it's not magic, it's Christian illusions. And I think that's good.
Yes.
And so I think that this, and I'm not trying to be like all defensive or anything, but I just think I should address it really quick on the podcast because we have listeners all over. But this could be controversial of like, why are you doing Narnia? I remember one time we were doing a space theme and somebody asked me, what does space have to do with the Bible, And it's I could make a case for it, but that wasn't what it was about. So I wanted to address the question, like, why do we do themes like Narnia and other themes? Narnia being one that's probably more controversial than many. We did a spy theme. A lot of people it's not controversial, but for some reason Narnia is. And so one of the main reasons we do themes is to capture kids' attention and their investment, because when they're invested and they're interested and they like what's happening, you're able to, I can't remember who talked about it, but it's like, they're laughing and stuff. It's like they're opening their minds up, and then you stuff some Bible in there.
Yes.
Well, even with like the coming out every week and saying, what the steps to being saved.
Yeah, the
right?
plan of salvation.
It's the plan of salvation. Right. Yeah. Doing the plan of salvation. I mean, I sent you that picture of what Piper drew at my office. Yes. Like, that wouldn't have happened before.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to know, and it's funny because she did, like, all the little steps.
That's awesome. Yes.
And I thought, that's pretty awesome. Like, what an impact, Sunday school is having on her.
Exactly. And I think, and there is definitely merit. I know that there are Sunday schools that don't do themes at all, or do themes but to a way lesser extent, and that's fine. Every Sunday school is different, but this is just, I guess, a defense. But this is why we do things like Narnia and other themes that we do, is because we're capturing kids' attention. I think all of our other themes are not based on, I'm trying to think really quick, I don't think any of them are based on a already established story. I think we write all of our own stuff. I'm not saying we wouldn't do it. Oh, we did Odyssey once. We did Odyssey a long time ago. Adventures in Odyssey.
I don't think I was in there for that.
So the very first scene that I came for, and I wasn't even really in church, and I came here to help set up, was the balloon.
Oh, yeah.
The hot air balloon.
Yep, the hot air balloons.
And I remember thinking, wow, like, all this work put in for these kids. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
That was a cool theme. Yeah, so let's talk about some of the other Sunday school memories. So one that I got to tell on Shamra
Uh-oh.
is you know, we are so blessed right now to have
me.
Yes, to have you. To have like 30 plus staff that we can pull from a pool of staff that are talented and do an awesome job. It wasn't always like that. And so it used to be that we had like, I think, so right now we run 10 on a Sunday for our various segments, and we do, you know, full dramatized stuff on stage and everything. Back then, I think we did 8, and it was those 8. That was it. So now, like, we can have people fill in. You know, I mean, it's pretty easy. Like, hey, can you fill in for so they're sick or whatever? Well, I can't remember. There's a lot of guys in the Bible stories. You know, it's just a lot of guys, and so. We must have been short-staffed or something. We don't condone cross-dressing, but
it happens in Sunday school.
You know, now you would never have a girl wear pants or anything. But Shamra was Pharaoh one time.
I was also Moses.
Were you really? I didn't remember that.
Yes.
Was it in the same theme?
I don't remember if it was in the same theme, but I know that I have worn a beard a few times.
Oh man, yeah, I remember you being Pharaoh, and we had you all covered up enough where you really couldn't tell.
I think people thought it was Brennan.
Yeah, it looked like you Brennan or something. Oh man, yeah. So anyway, that's a memory on Shamra.
I would stuff my hair down the back of my dress, you know, cover my head. And Brennan and I we still do, but we looked a lot more alike, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So. No, just the other day he had a long wig on. I'm like, whoa, you look like Shamra.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's awesome. So what, when did you first come in? Was it the spy theme, the very first spy theme that we did?
I think so. Yeah,
okay.
That sounds familiar.
Okay. So that must have been the first time you came in. So, and then were you ever in Sunday school when we switched to this style?
I was not.
Okay,
so
I didn't think so.
When we switched, I was out of Sunday school.
Yeah.
But I was not part of Sunday school staff.
Okay.
So like the whole balloon and all of that, I was not a part of that. But I kept thinking,
which that would have been the end of 07. So fun. Is when I came.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we did the balloon one for almost a year. We did it for it was a very long theme. I think it was 40 weeks, which is not typical, but it went for a long time. And in fact, that was our transition, the balloons. So we started with Kids Power Hour, which is a great resource for somebody. So we started with Kids Power Hour. I'll just put a plug in, though. A better resource is Acts in Action curriculum by WPF, because I was part of creating that. But Kids Power Hour is what we did. We started with something about treasure. It was it was a water one. It had to do with a boat and all this stuff, and so it was really good. Now we right away, and this was pastor before he was pastor, did this. But right away, we took the decor to another level. We had a ship that the kids would get inside of, and so it was really a big deal. It was really cool. But we did that. Oh man, we are over time. We did that, and then I think we did I can't remember if we did the balloons first or the search and rescue. I think we might have done the search and rescue one. But I do remember in the balloons, so they're only 13 weeks long. And so in the hot air balloon one is where we started writing our own stuff. And then that's where I came in. Like the other one, I had kind of just helped launch it, helped build some of the stuff. And I wasn't really in there. I was in there just a few like Sundays here and there. I was just working with pastor, trying to get it going. And then I came in and took it over during the balloons. And then, I think that's when I took it over, and when we started writing our own stuff. Then we did like the search and rescue, and then we kind of made it our own. And then 2012 was the first year up here that we did Sunday school up here. It was an Army theme. So, man, yeah.
So had plywood floors.
Yeah, unfinished building.
Everywhere.
It was so hot when we did our Youth Quest one.
Oh, yeah,
all of my tights. Youth Quest.
Youth
Quest.
Oh, man. No AC. That was...
Oh, my goodness. I have a story about Youth Quest.
Okay, really quick. We're almost out of time, but let's hear it.
When you are in children's ministry, you never know what's going to happen. And I was... Brother Baker had built this slide.
This is the first slide that we built in 2012.
And
yes.
At the end of the slide is like a metal post or something, like the wall of this unfinished building that we're in. And so guess who got to catch the kids at the bottom so they didn't go flying into a metal wall? And
all
I'm
the
down
kids.
there.
Little
all the
kids and big kids.
So, and like this is like during the August services, so it is a lot of kids. And I'm tired. I'm hot.
Yeah.
I've got this pillow catching these kids, and I look up. And there's this kid up there who is not a kid. He was
Oh, I remember this.
As big as I was. I was supposed to catch him. So that was my...
So let's just say
I hit the wall instead of him.
So
I still did my duty.
You know what's crazy about that slide? This is funny. So that I didn't know how to do a landing, so it just went down to the floor, and it was very steep. But besides me, because I built it, the first person to test that slide was your dad.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to think of?
Yeah.
Her dad went down that slide. He was in that theme. He was the Army guy in that theme.
I do
Wow.
remember that.
That's so cool. Okay, we are way over our time, so I think that's